Ja, då är det dags för oss att samla oss. Ska vi se om vi lyckas få alla i rätt ordning. Det är viktigt när vi livesänder så ingen får fel namnskylt i det digitala. Heter man något annat. Kul att se alla här och jätteroligt att få prata om ett favoritämne, Lund som innovationsdistrikt. Nu ska jag switch to English as well. My name is Charlotte Lawrence Hjort. I come from Lund University and the Collaboration Office. And in this role, I also work as the CEO for Future by Lund, the joint innovation platform that we have between the university, the city of Lund, and a quite large group of companies that participate in different innovation portfolio work. Today, we're going to talk about Lund as an innovation district. And for us, collaborating and working with these innovation portfolios and in the collaboration between industry and society, the city and the university, it's very important for us that the innovation district functions. And it's started to become a phenomenon. We see innovation district as a concept all over the world, where very high density environments where we have a lot of research, a lot of experimental facilities, labs, infrastructures, companies with R&D have been on a very small space. Normally, innovation district is not more than 2 square kilometers and a very dense environment. And those environments are becoming even more important now when we're taking on the really grand challenges for innovation. These are very important. And Lund, with the history it has a very nice and an enormous track record of being an innovation district already. So for us, it's really just connecting and making this archipelago of different innovation functions that we already have even more connected and even more on a collaborative mode. So here today we have a panel that will look at the innovation district from the lens of the corporate R&D. So we have some very historical companies that have been born here or moved in here and are very much part of the identity of Lund as an innovation district. And after lunch, you will have another panel that looks at the innovation district out of infrastructures and labs and another lens looking at the district. So I hope this will give different perspectives to this collaborative possibility that we have from Lund and this dense environment. So first, let me just go through the panel here so we know who is going to join us. And Roger, you're first out from Saab Kockums. You have a long history with Lund, but you're moving here pretty soon with your R&D. And Anna, you're very much from a company that's been born here and the chief of sustainability at Alfa Laval. And Henrik, Volvo, being a software company here. It's very interesting to have a car company establishing R&D. And Bert, you have a lot of different portfolios in Lund when it comes to R&D companies, but today you're also representing the board of Axis, where you're the chairman. And Bosch, we have here as well. Robert, you're the head of engineering at Bosch Nordic. And Marie, you're also from a company that's been born out of Lund and very much grounded in Lund, coming from being the VD of Tetra Pak. But let us start with some reflections on how it is to have both worked here but established R&D companies here. So, Bert, I would like to start with you. You're not only Axis, you're lots of other things as well.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm sort of a big fan of Lund. as an innovation hub for a number of companies. And I think with my background in Ericsson, I've experienced Lund for many, many years. And I've also seen that the closeness between university and companies has benefited our companies quite well, and put a lot of effort in sort of making that happen. We have had during different period, different head of the universities who has been very active in working together with companies to make sure that we can develop leading edge technologies. And research and development is two different things to me. And if you can do the research together with the university, and there is an openness to that, I think it will work extremely well. The company I'm chairman of, Axis, was more or less built here from the ground. And it's a huge company today. But it was nothing against engineering ideas, and then started quite early to work with the university. And Ericsson, everybody know about the Bluetooth, but also the chip development we had in EMP during that time. That has developed now, so Ericsson is doing base stations and also doing research in Lund. Then, so I think there are a number of challenges in being in Lund. There isn't many unemployed engineers at the moment, and Kockums is moving here, and I think you're going to have 800 people, engineers, or 900 people totally in Lund, and we got to make room and got to find. So we have to, like they did a few years ago in Silicon Valley, we have to make it also attractive to move here, because we can't develop that many engineers in our schooling system here. So we need to make sure that why move to Lund, that question is answered in a good way. So
you need all these different aspects of an innovation district to function for everyone. But Anna, you're part of responsible for the sustainability at Alfa Laval. You have one of these grand challenges on your shoulders for innovation.
Yes, we do. And Alfa Laval is world leading in technologies of heat transfer, fluid handling, and separation. And those are technologies that are key enablers of a lot of those global challenges that we're facing in food, water, and energy transformation. And those are a transformation that needs to happen quickly, and it's also very complicated, complex. And to be able to pitch in with what we can do, we really need strong collaborations across industries, but also with academia. We need a lot of funding from society, for example. And that's why, for us, it's very important to have Lund University close by, almost a walking distance, to get the close relationships, to get the money also for funding of all these investments that are needed. And just this year, we decided to invest, I think it's around 100 million euros in expanding in just the Lund site. And one part of that is innovation and R&D facilities, but also even more investments across the globe. So it's very important for us to have this place in Lund where we have the connection to the university and can innovate together.
Yeah, and you stress this close relationship and the trust, having that relationships very near to you, where you can cycle and bike and in 10 minutes meet everyone.
I mean, I've just not too long ago, I traveled also to India, for example, where we have sites, and visited the Institute of Science, the Indian Institute of Science, where we have very close relations, but it's really hard to get those close relations that I can have in Lund. And I'm really close to many of the faculties in Lund, where we, with a 10-minute drive or walk, can have really good discussions, build a trust that is needed to do all these new things that we don't have the answer for, but we need to drive for sustainability together.
Henrik, you are not a car company, I would say in Lund. You're a software company, or a car, but electromobility. what's Lund for you and Lund Innovation District in this sense?
I think we can back a couple of years. Volvo doesn't take very lightly on starting up a new R&D site, and actually we don't have that many R&D sites. We have today we have Torslanda, we have Lund, and we have in Shanghai. So really just 3 sites. So when we opened the site 7 years back, it was not taken lightly. But however, the discussion was pretty easy because, I mean, we had some, at that point in time, we had some kind of critical mass of competence that Volvo needed. And then we was positioned in the center of this innovation center, as Ideon and all the companies around it. So the decision for Volvo Cars was done very fast, I would say. I think the process was 1 month to start up the site in Lund. And I think the combination of the talents we had at that point, but also the companies in the surroundings and the university and closeness to both Malmö and Copenhagen and airport. So it's been an interesting journey, and I think all the components from a Volvo Cars perspective was in the neighborhood, especially when it comes to software.
And you also talk about this openness and that you can't solve all the challenges yourself. So this collaboration and interaction is important for you in this as well.
I think also what happened after the big dragons from Ericsson and Sony Ericsson and so was, if not imploding, getting smaller, was creating a totally new kind of setup between the companies, smaller, mid-sized companies, and we actually need to talk to each other and then have some kind of openness and curiosity, but exchanging information regarding competence and skill sets, if not business-wise. So it's very seldom that I make a call that people doesn't pick up and are actually listening and curious about problem statements in between the companies as well. So I think it's really a nice climate.
Robert, you're also a software development company, but you also talk about the processes and methods and the way of developing effectively and sustainably is important for you, and being innovative in that sense as well.
Exactly. So we have a large R&D site located here in Lund, and when we opened the site 8 years ago, one reason was, of course, that the car gets connected and all of this like a mobile phone, but it's also about the location and the history of modern software development. So this was one of the driving factors, and I see innovation. It's not only about products and about protocols and, for instance, Bluetooth, but it's also about innovative ways. How do we develop? Because we need to continuously change our way of working using software and AI, for instance. And for us, this is important to have in the Lund area, where we have the closeness to the university to really understand new methods, new way of working. So this was one of the main reasons also to place here in Lund.
And when I spoke to you, you also expressed the wish of having entrances to a broader part of the university, with all the difference, Lund being a 9-faculty broad university with lots of different competences that might be even more interesting for you for the future to interact with a broader part of the university as well.
Exactly, because I see different parts of innovation that you use in Innovation District, and one part is, of course, the idea creation. And we really create new ideas with the collaboration and discussion between people. So we need to have these platforms to talk to university, to talk to between the companies, to really spawn new ideas, new way of working. And then we, of course, need to understand and implement these solutions. And there we need funding, we need testbed, we need the whole research work to understand, is this really a method that works in an industrial environment and so forth.
Marie, Tetra Pak is also a company very much synonymous with Lund. And historically, we might have had more like a bilateral collaboration between the university and you, but now you also started an open innovation platform. You tell us more about that as well?
Yeah, so as you say, I mean, we have a long history of being here in Lund. I mean, it's over 70 years since Tetra Pak was established. At that time, very much a packaging company. Now we are a world-leading packaging and processing company as well, very much focusing on providing food to people around the world. And that means that we're working not only on key developments on the packaging side, but also very much on the food side. And here we really want to provide the future, food for the future to all people around the world as well. So we have recently launched now Biotech Food Heights, or Biotech Heights, together with the Lund University. Is really a way to jointly together make sure that we work both on innovation, on research, and that is, of course, where very much the Lund University has these strengths, with the laboratories available, etc. But for us, it's also about adding on then from our side, building this up through pilots, industrial scale, and really make sure that we can provide food for the future. Because actually, I mean, if we look into 2050, we need to provide more than 70% more of food than what we're having today in the world. And already today, we're actually wasting 1/3 of all food that is being produced. So we have huge opportunities to make a difference jointly together here in the Lund area. And as you say, not only between Lund University and Tetra Pak, we want to make sure that we have other actors in the value chain here as part of this work as well. Small startups, other suppliers, other customers as well, because we are really part of a bigger value chain, and to make sure that we really get this recycled way of working fully in a circular way, we need to make sure that we look into the full value chain here. So that's very important for us.
I have a colleague at Future by Lund that says that we need to practice how to collaborate the whole time, that we're not as good as we should be on collaboration. So this is a nice training center, I think, also for finding that joint collaborations that you're setting up.
Yeah, really making a difference for the future. Because Johan Rockström, as I think you all know about, I mean, what he is saying as well is that if we fix the challenge of food, we're really fixing the challenge of climate for the world also. So there is such a strong connection there as well.
And Roger, you're the last one out, and you're moving home, you told me, sort of.
Yes, I'm from Saab Kockums, and Saab is a Swedish defense and security company. And what the activities we have today in Malmö, Saab Kockums, what we do there is we design submarines, underwater systems, so to say. And what we have decided now is to, in a couple of years, to move here to Lund. We are collecting a lot of different activities and sites around Skåne and collecting it together in Lund. And we are building a new big building up in the north entrance of Lund. And the reason, of course, is that we got an offer from Lund that we couldn't refuse. And of course, we want to come close to the university. We want to come close to Ideon and the companies that we have there. We have a long history of working with university and Ideon and so on, because already in the 60s we had a different collaboration. It was Lund University that taught us digital navigation in the 60s, for instance. We had courses and things like that. So we have a long history going back there. And then also we have connections to Ideon, where we have some activities together with smaller companies. We have activities with RISE and so on. So we think it's very good to come close to Lund and this innovation district. We are lacking some ocean and sea. That's okay. So we are designing submarines, but we only have Höje-Å. So that is a little bit pity. But I can say we have a very good shipyard up in Karlskrona that is part of Kockums, the old shipyard. So there is where we are building it. And actually quite recently we also have a small research vessel, a small research boat located in Landskrona. So we are also expanding on the sea, so to say. So in summary, we think it's very good to come here, closer to the students, because we need to recruit. We are expanding. We are in a, the security situation, as you know, in Europe and in the world is very bad. And that means also that we are growing quite extensively in many areas and so on. And then it's important to be close to where the engineers are produced and take them from some other guys. Yes, that is something. Another thing I want to say also is we have this EU flag here, and many of you maybe don't know that since a couple of years ago there is something called the European Defence Fund ongoing with Europe. So EU is investing quite heavily in security and defence, and the aim of that fund is to create cooperation between different European defence industries. And what they see as very important also to engage SME, small and medium enterprises. That is a very big bonus if you can have this. And I think we are active now in the EDF, we are in different projects and so on, but I think if you look ahead, I think it's possible to engage more smaller companies, for instance, from Ideon and so on, in this kind of European Defence Fund projects. Because that is very high on the agenda right now, EU, defence and security, and the defence fund is, so to say, one of the vehicles to increase the security in Europe. Thank you.
So you're part of putting Lund as an innovation district on the map as well. Taking this history and this track record of Lund as being an innovation district and now packaging it more together, what would this be good for you, or is it important, or Bert? Yeah.
Yeah. Of course it would be good for us, but you have to, when you sit on the board level, you try to visualize the company, how will we look 5 years from now, or how will we look 10 years from now. And there you can act from that, you can actually dig out the competence you need to reach that level. You can also see what kind of markets you are in and so on, and can we fulfill that development needs, or should we have partners doing it? Can we find other companies that can do that for us, and so on and so on. And today there is a lack of certain competence areas in Lund. Development of ASICs and other things is not sort of a very well populated engineering groups here in Lund, and you have to go around in Sweden, you can find them up in Stockholm and so on. From that, we try to make sure that we can attract those kind of resources for the need we have 5 years from now. But then you have to start now to develop it, to find them, and to foster them into our culture in Axis, for example. So knowing more about Lund's plans and Lund's innovation district is, of course, very good for all companies in the area. But to me, it's very important that we have a clear picture of where we are going and how it will look 5 years from now. That's how we plan.
Yeah. Will it make it easier to attract engineers to come here if we make joint forces?
As I told you over the phone, the question you should answer is why Lund?
Yeah, why Lund?
And there is a number of angles to that. Why Lund? Why should I as a person move there? Is there a good place to live? Is there a good infrastructure? Is the climate good? And so on. It's much better than Stockholm. I was there yesterday. But I can tell you it's sort of a lot of questions to answer where it's not up for the university. Now it comes to the Lunds kommun and working close to the region, Skåne and so on, that the politicians understand that this will create wealth and taxpayers, which they live on. So I think there is a number, and I always ask the question, why Lund, to people in Lund? Why should we move there? Why should I be there? And so on. And we have a way to go to make it more attractive. I spent 2 years in Silicon Valley during the good times when everybody wanted to move there. And I would love if Lund can be the place where everybody wants to go to.
And what was the best thing with Silicon Valley that we can steal?
It was that engineers doesn't sort of... the thing that attracts them is to work with challenges. And the bigger challenges and the bigger leading edge technology, the more you attract the best engineers in the world. So the best from India, the best from Japan, the best from Korea, they all came. And they work for, they're probably rich now, all of them, but they work for Google and Facebook and Cisco and whatever. So I must say that if we can get that pressure, that we want to live in Lund and we want to work with a company there because they are the leading edge companies. That's my dream.
Henrik?
Just to add to that, I think also when recruiting from abroad, for say from Korea or India or so on, I think especially for software engineers, but I think it goes for every engineer, is that they would like to move to some kind of community, engineering-wise. So if we can hand them information about that they are moving to some kind of community, both socially but also from a corporate perspective, engineering-wise and so on, it's not just Volvo they're taking. It's a bigger, say, surrounding than just us. It's from a software perspective, there is a lot of talented companies just in Lund, and I think that is a good selling point. So if we can package both the university, the diversity of companies, the quality of living, and so on, and for kids, I think there is a pretty good package. But then we have to just do it and have it. So I can hand that over to the persons I try to hire in India or Korea and so on.
And Anna, introducing them to the big challenges.
Yes, we both, I think it's two sides to it. We are a growing company. We need to hire a lot more people. We need more STEM students. So that's a huge challenge for us to see that happen. And then Lund University is very important. And secondly, the big challenge, we're committed to net zero by 2050. That means that we really have to work together for innovation to happen. We are, for example, founders together with Lund University and Max4 and other corporations to find these new materials. That's very far under almost the discovery research part. But also we need to find innovation to scale all these solutions that we have. And that's where I think a lot of talent could find our biggest challenge, that in the context of the community, as you say, would be attractive to many, because it's a holistic view you need. You need really to have the AI, the IT, and you need the material science, you need even the social parts of it if you talk about sustainability issues and philosophy, as we talked about. You need a full scope of understanding to make it happen.
We have researchers at Lund that have been very much engaged in the development of the inner development goals that also relates to behavior change. And so there's a lot of competences that are not engineers, but are still crucial for us to innovate these grand challenges. Robert, your take on using the broader part of the university, also attracting other types of talent than engineers and using competences broadly?
Definitely. I think you started asking about the packaging the whole Lund Innovation District. And for me, I think that we talk here about that we fight with the talent and these kind of, we are a lot of companies here. But I also think that it is about the critical mass. The more company we have, we will get even more talent here. So it will not be that we are fighting, it's even we are growing much more. And I also think that activities like ESS, like these facilities, they will pull not only the researchers to the area, but also everybody around it. Because I think one driving force for talent is when they move to an area, it's also the job security. And job security means that it's not only one company I work, and if that is gone, I'm out of job, so to say. It's really to have this critical mass of companies in the area.
Marie, what would the Lund Innovation District mean for Tetra Pak for both the biotech heights, but also for you in a long-term perspective?
Yeah, and I want to build on what we heard here about the challenges as well. I mean, we got this challenge already 2021 when everyone in the food packaging industry, our customers, got an EU directive to make sure that we removed all plastic straws to paper straws instead. And the way that we worked then was together with the Lund University, together with Max4, to really develop paper straws. And I think, in the full of EU, there are no plastic straws anymore. So that's an example where we took on a challenge together with our partners and really made a difference for everyone, all our consumers here, all of us. And the next challenge now is to do the same when it comes to the full, package itself. So here we're working together. We are working with Max4, University, having the right competence available to develop the future of our packaging material. And that requires the capabilities that we have here in Lund, with the laboratories and all that, and definitely ESS to come as well. So for me, it's already happening, and we're already using these capabilities. And now we need to continue that and drive that even further as well for the future.
Yeah, a comment from me as well, looking ahead and so on. We make a lot of different products and systems today, but we also need to transform in Saab. We need to learn more about new technologies. There's a lot to talk about. We must be more a software company. Everybody's talking software. So the same at Saab. We also need more software in the cybersecurity, autonomous system, AI, additive manufacturing, and so on. So we are also transforming Saab, and that means also that you need to be close to where the development and the research happens. And so that is one reason also to be very close, be in this innovation district.
Yes, so many shifts going on at the same time. We're all going to need to use each other to understand what is going on right now. For us, with the innovation district, we're trying to, maybe the obvious, put together things that we already have, but to make us even more attractive, but also to be able to get offers from Europe. We work very much from Lund universities with this large innovation schemes that we have from Europe, that EIT, European Institute for Innovation and Technology, every second year they're launching a new innovation program that's the largest innovation schemes of the world, actually. And we've been working very much on the culture and creativity one, and that's now opened just about. And then we're going into the one on water, and it takes us a long time to prepare. But for us also, it's getting even more important that we have this district functioning. When we sell our place, we sell Lund into those large partnerships. Why should Lund come in and be a partner in such a strategic development for Europe? So for us, it's also building this joint capacity even more systematically, so we will be part of these transformations. How do you feel about being in this kind of EU schemes in this sense? It's also a lot of development resources for green transition.
I think it's very important. I think it's about what many of the speakers have said already, that it's about the critical mass that we need really to work together. And I think most of the companies that are on the panel, we work together with at Alfa Laval already a lot. With Tetrapak, for example, make this huge transformation of the food system possible with plant-based food, for example. And I think that's super important to have this platform to then go to EU and get the hold of these huge funding money that's there to drive innovation and the transformation that we need to see so urgently.
What would you need for us to do together when it comes to Innovation District? We started with this small that you all got. I hope you'll be able to take it when you leave if you haven't seen it, this Innovation District. We did this last spring just to present some different aspects of innovation from Lund. But that's one way of doing it. What would you need for us to do? This kind of talks that we now are doing, where we're starting to get the same storytelling. Is this important?
Can I just add one thing? I think
absolutely.
just very easily, and a big gain maybe, is also just facilitating these discussions, because meeting the right kind of partners and companies makes a huge difference, and being able to talk openly about what are the challenges that we can't solve, but probably that could be an opportunity for another company. And if you facilitate that kind of discussion, I think there's a lot to gain, and that's an easy win in my mind.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about too, but when it comes to these challenges, so visualizing them and bringing them out and jointly working to solve.
I think I agree with that. We need to get more companies to move here. Definitely to build a stronger chain of companies. And I'm not a big believer in brochures that will convince, but you need people who advocate the story of Lund and why Lund. And like I do myself in board meetings in other companies and so on, that try to sell in Lund as the place to be, to develop there. So you need a number of people. So of course you should inform about what's going on and so on, but you also need what they call a predicant that go out and talk about Lund and why it's so great to be there, so that rumor spreads and so on. And there is we need to break up some of the Stockholm chains of commands up there and try to get some more focus on south.
The brochure in itself is not the purpose. I think the purpose was to get some joint storytelling. And we had a visit here. I wasn't involved in it, but the American embassy came down to visit, and they were around and they met everyone, and everybody was speaking about their business and what they were doing, but nobody presented Lund. So that was a reflection when they left, that they said, okay, now we got all these different presentations, but nobody talked about Lund. So also having this kind of joint storytelling where we're all sharing some kind of idea of what Lund is and why it's important for us.
Oh, and just to build on that one, I believe we all have our own stories, but building the joint story in a very good way is important. And here I think you can use us, if I say so, to make sure that we have that story and we have a common story as well. Because sometimes it's a risk that companies are even going into green muting. I mean, doing so many things, but it's not really communicated either. And because in the end, it's all about attracting people, as you say. I mean, young people to come here to the university, to stay here, to do the advanced research, work together with us, and make sure that we really build, from the young generation to our future. So I think we can do a lot together.
Henrik.
Yes, with the big funding, I think if you take Stockholm or Gothenburg, there is all of these very huge footprint companies that have huge amount of money locally, regionally. I don't see that really down south in Sweden, so it's more like we need those big fundings to find the big projects what one and each of us can't invest in, as Max Lab, CSS and so on, other test beds, and use the money for that. Otherwise, I mean, I think the talents attract talents. The more the good people we can attract, those people will attract more talents. But also one investment I see needed in a small scale. I need a Pete's coffee, somewhere we can meet up and exchange thoughts over a cup of coffee or beer. We don't have that today.
No. It's a take on. I saw Lotta here somewhere. Any other thoughts? We also have a possibility to open for some questions in the audience.
Maybe I can add
Absolutely.
to this as well. So I think innovation really has a best before date. So we need to continue. We need to continue to move our position for the whole area, the whole district. And I think that we talked about these platforms and Lund University to facilitate the platforms. I think we have a lot of good practices in place, all the companies, but we need to use these together to really move our position further. And we need platforms and we need funding to really do this.
Jag vill gärna be Roger Berg att du kommenterar lite grann det som håller på att hända nu framöver när det gäller dual use, att man jobbar ihop med militära och civila tillämpningar. Och det är ju redan program på gång vid Vetenskapsrådet och Vinnova ihop med NSF i USA. Och du och många andra vet att det är stora pengar på de amerikanska universiteten som handlar om militärforskning. Och den är inte så speciellt militärt, utan det är blue sky. Så att här finns, med ert inträde i Lund, så finns det en chans att vi kan komma åt ett väldigt gott samarbete med dual use. Hur ser du på det, Roger?
Yeah, the question was about dual use, and it's a strong pressure from the Swedish Armed Forces, if you look at advice from the Supreme Commander to the Swedish government, and so you can read in many places that the Armed Forces need to be much better to use civilian technologies and so on, what is called dual use. So that is something that is happening, and it's also talked about in the EU context, how you should use this together. And of course, our move here is part of being able to use more technology in our applications. So I think it's something that is really happening. As I said, there's a lot of research money in that field as well.
I think you could comment also that actually Silicon Valley, the start of Silicon Valley was built on military orders, nothing else. So there is a reason to be close to the military due to the fact that they are swimming in money.
Please.
Thank you very much for the wonderful panel discussion. You all talked about, presenting Lund as a good place to work to attract talent. Is there such cooperation between different companies in Lund to do that? Or if not, what it would look like tangibly in reality? What kind of projects?
Are you meaning specific companies that will work specifically? Okay.
Well, there's a hesitation, I feel that. But we work closely with most companies on this panel, and we work a lot together with Lund University and different faculties to attract students to want to join and be part of both Lund University studying, but also getting master theses or summer jobs, etc. And we work together on that, but we don't have a specific, that I know of, working together to attract students and others to Lund. That's together with Lund University then.
Yes, I can just comment as well. So from Tetra Pak side, we have every year 50 master theses ongoing, and more or less everyone is coming from Lund University. We also have summer workers, as you say, Anna. 250 summer workers every year, every summer are coming to us from different, very much from Lund, of course, here, and from Skåne as well. And then on top of that, we have Future Talent program. And also here, 30 future talents, many of them coming from Lund University as well every year. And we are expanding that now and plan to go up to 50, just to make sure that we drive this collaboration and make sure that we attract young people here in a good way. Then we also have mentor programs, where we're using a mentor maybe from another company for a mentee from another one. So here is another example of how we are working between companies as well. Yeah.
Maybe I can comment as well. If I read into it, how we collaborate between the companies as well. So I would say since, I think it's actually 10 years anniversary next year, we had a Linux conference every year at the Ideon, and driven totally from the grassroots, senior engineers, just from us and Axis and Ericsson and so on, pulling off a conference every year just for themselves. We just pitching in some money, and then they fix everything by themselves, cross company. And now lately we have done it not exactly the same way, also coming from the engineers, kicking off cybersecurity collaboration. So senior software engineers, architects from a set of different companies is meeting up every second, third month to sit down and discuss cybersecurity problems and debate that a bit. So, and we have tried to kick off the same thing for machine learning and so on, but that was in the middle of just before COVID, so that just didn't bite really. But yes, there is a kind of community collaboration. Is it super large? No, but it's happening.
And I can just build on that. Together with the Lund municipality, many of us here have agreed, we have committed to be carbon neutral by 2030. We have joint activities when it comes to, for instance, commuting for all of our employees. So there is a lot of collaboration in different areas, definitely. Yeah.
And last week we did have, together with Tetra Pak and other companies in Lund, a climate fund for students and our employees together just as one example.
There's no other questions. I think we come to the end of this panel, and I will take your word up that we need this type of dialogues further on and keep these joint discussions going on what we need and make it even more visual, what kind of collaborations we have between us in the Innovation District. And thank you so much for coming. And we also have a panel that Peter Kish here from Future by Lund would lead after lunch, but also takes another lens on the Innovation District out of labs and infrastructure and test beds. So it's please stay for the one after lunch as well, and we'll have some small gifts for you from university as well. So thank you so much for joining us. And now it's lunch for everyone. I was asked to tell as well. Thank you.
Silence. Great. Welcome everybody to the afternoon session. This is the second session related to Lund Innovation District. Before lunch we had a fantastic discussion involving anchor companies. And we will continue fleshing out the details of the Innovation District by focusing more on innovation infrastructure. So the theme of this session here is Exploring Lund Innovation District, a playground of demos and test beds. My name is Peter Kish. I represent Future by Lund. Welcome. Innovation platform started with at Lund Municipality, but nowadays run together with Lund University and a couple of companies. And our idea is to develop the content, further develop content of Innovation District. We will have a fantastic panel here today. I will shortly introduce them. But first I would like to give you a sort of a short brief of what is Innovation District. And I will actually quote World Economic Forum's Urban Transformation Summit that had a meeting this summer, specifically focusing on Innovation District. So hear out the big words coming from World Economic Forum. Innovation districts are the ultimate mashup of anchor institution, living communities, science parks, companies, startups, and ecosystem building intermediaries in hyperlocal geographies that leverage density, proximity, and accessibility. Districts actively advance a collaborate to compete agenda to solve some of our world's most complex challenges. Quality of place and openness is key for attracting talent. With the ultimate aim to grow new jobs, create new firms, and strengthen inclusive growth and equity, and at the same time developing quality of place. This means that innovation is more a culture rather than only isolated area for specialists. Not only deep specialization, but also convergence, meaning finding overlap and new combinations. Wow, big words. So you're going to contribute to this discussion. And then also let me give you a little idea what do we mean by test beds and demos. I would rather like to use the word innovation infrastructure. I think that's a more appropriate term. Now, innovation infrastructure can be test beds, incubator, demo sites, research labs, fab labs, living labs, makerspaces. There are different kinds of terms, but they all are examples of innovation infrastructures, where tools, machines, equipment, people, knowledge, support meet to experiment, iterate, prototype, test, develop in any kinds of forms. They can be commercial, non-commercial, publicly funded, not publicly funded, or membership fee funded, or other means. They can be technical. That means that they verify, test, reduce risk, scale technology. Or they can be functions moving ideas from research to commercialization faster. They can solve societal challenges. They build communities. And they also attract people that are there because of curiosity and because it's fun. So I think that all these infrastructures, they can contain some of these or combination of these. So we will see and listen a little bit later on what will come out from this panel here. So let me introduce the panel now. Oh, just one more thing. If you didn't know, we have almost 50 creative places like this in Lund, only in Lund. You don't know so much of them maybe, but we have 50 of them. So we have selected 5 of them. Some of them more, these are connected more to Lund University. So first we have Frida Splendido, who's Deputy Director of Humanities Lab. And then we have Nicolo Delundo, who's Director of LU Dark Lab. Has nothing to do with science fiction. It's digital archaeology, maybe. Ola Wallberg, who is a professor of chemical engineering, but also part of food and biotech pilot plant. And Eva Foreus, in the middle, who's CEO of Smile Life Science Incubator. And Anders Mikkelsen, who's director of Nano Lund. So let's kick it off. Short introduction. Who are you and what do you do? Frida.
So, the Lund University Humanities Lab. The easy answer to that question is that we're a multi-user, university-wide research infrastructure. But I need to kind of unpack that so that you get the full extent of how put together that is compared to the reality of this animal that we sometimes describe ourselves as. So multi-user means that we have users from all over the university, 500 to 600 users on an annual basis. From all faculties, that's the university-wide thing, apart from the Faculty of Law. So if you're from the Faculty of Law, you have a legal application that you're interested in, do talk to me, because we're very curious about what people do in the Faculty of Law. We have advanced instruments to study many different things. And when we try to find the least common denominator, we tend to go towards humans, something related to humans, but then we have people who study cats. And what do we do with that? They're not humans. And then we have people who want to bring in robots to the motion capture studio. And what do we do with that? So many different things, but I think the closest we can get is some kind of human-related behavior or communicatively related behavior so far. And of course, these come from various places. So we have researchers who come to us. That's a part of being an infrastructure. We don't own the research that's being conducted in the lab. We facilitate it. But how can you learn how to code, and how can you get better at coding, for example? Well, maybe if we look at how experts review their code, then we can know something about how we can teach other people to become experts in coding. Yeah, many different types of equipment, sensor-based mostly, but not only. I will... Yeah.
We will come back.
Yeah.
We'll get you more.
See, difficult question.
Yeah. Nicola, please.
My name is Nicola De Lunto. So the Dark Lab, the Lund University Digital Archaeology Lab, is probably the smallest infrastructure at Lund University. Really. But I think it's very much an incubator of ideas. So we study a lot of how 3D visualization and technology change our understanding of the past, but I have to say also of the present. So we are very interested in understanding how the use of new technology change our way of acting, but also of creating new informations. These generate a lot of, crazy projects, which goes from involvement of drones, robots, sensors. We have in the project ongoing research on underwater visualization, but also open data, and also understanding how, for example, archives can impact not just archaeology, but other actually aspects of the society. So we are, again, very small, but we have a lot of fun. So, and of course, we have interesting collaboration. Eventually, we can discuss this later on with different stakeholders, which surprise us also, because we were not expecting from the archaeological perspective. So, yeah.
Great. Ebba.
Thank you. My name is Ebba Foreus. I am the CEO of Smile. Smile is a venture builder, non-for-profit, empowering entrepreneurs within life science and food tech to commercialize their innovations. So what does that mean? We run incubator programs, we run boot camps, we run virtual education for those who want to understand what a road trip in entrepreneurship in this space would mean. What our Testbeds facility is a full pharma discovery lab. So we basically have what exists within large pharma. And to be quite precise, we are in AstraZeneca's old building, so some of that infrastructure is from AstraZeneca when they moved out, but we have also rebuilt that and bought a lot of new stuff. We also have special equipment for food tech. So you can build your company there, you can do your experimentation there. This is open for anyone with the right education and competence to use the facilities, of course, but this is not only for our incubator companies or our member companies. This is open for anyone who has a company or have a project and want to come in and rent this equipment at a very, very good price, because it is a test bed. It's a test bed, and it is. Let me give you one example. One of the instruments we have it costs 7 million kronor. And we have a lot of those different ones. But if you are a startup and you want to start your company, you cannot go to your investors the first thing you do and say, I need 7 million to buy something I'm going to use for 6 months. They will never ever pay for that, and that's why your company will never fly. So these test beds, wherever they are, whatever they are extremely important for Lund to be this innovation district and for us to create innovation and for startups to have a chance to fly and get started in a good way. I'll leave it.
Great, thanks. Ola?
Yeah, I'm Ola Wallberg. I'm professor in chemical engineering. Today I'm here as kind of a manager or someone at trying to make our infrastructure, which is Lund University pre-pilot plants, a thing. So the infrastructure that we have is for scale-up of chemical, biochemical, biotechnology, and food processes. And this is equipment and facilities that we have had and used in research for the last 40 years and has been developed. We have now consolidated ourselves into one instead of 3 different infrastructures, and we are open to other researchers, companies, both small and big, to come and either collaborate with us in research and development, or to conduct their own experiments. We also have possibility to build up new experimental setups. We have some skilled personnel that can assist companies in doing experiments. We can perform the experiments in some cases. So kind of versatile scale up of everything that goes into food and biotech processes, and also the upstream and downstream processes that is needed to create a product.
Great. Anders?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Anders Mikkelsen, director of Nano Lund. But today I'm here representing our infrastructure Lund Nanolab. And that is the Lund facility for micro and nano fabrication. And we're actually part also of a national infrastructure, MyFab. So there's labs, a few other universities in Sweden working on this. So what is special about this? Well, this infrastructure is for making, let's say, the basics of, for example, computer chips. So we are very much involved. You have probably, many of you heard about the semiconductor crisis and the idea that now Europe should also be capable of actually making our own semiconductor components. Well, that is actually what we do. So we have the basic equipment for doing that. We have users, both academic users who do frontline research. We also invite undergraduate students in, so we have 100 undergraduate students coming every year, also learning this equipment. And then we have both big and small companies coming into the lab to create these new structures. And again, it's like Ebba said, our equipment, so we have now gotten together funding in the range of 250 million for equipment, which is a lot, but that is actually what is needed if you want to be at the front in this area. And of course, a single small company cannot do this, but they can then come to us and try it out and get started, and then eventually move out and become a bigger company in hopefully here in this region.
Great. So short introduction of what we have here. We have different kinds of testing facilities, creative infrastructure. So let me come back to the issue about innovation district. How do you see yourselves interacting with the environment around you? I mean, who are the players that are important for you? Because you're not functioning in a vacuum. You're sort of in a context. If we look at the Anders, you want to start?
Yeah, so because we see ourselves, for us, an ecosystem or system here is very important. So we, first of all, I mean, we fabricate things, then we work together with, we have these fancy facilities, MAX4 and ESS, which are wonderful. There you look at things, but Sweden is a fabrication manufacturing country, so we should also be able to make things. That's what we do. But then we work with MAX4 to get the edge to make the structures as perfect as possible. Then when we want eventually to make some product out of it, we need EBA because there our startup companies can go and start thriving. And we also need other facilities, like for instance, we have structures that are used to involve food products. Well, eventually we want to test that, then we need to go over to other facilities. So for us, it is really important to have this kind of ecosystem. That's also, I mean, we're building a new nanolab. It will be out 5 minutes from MAX4 and ESS out in Science Village, because we want our people to be able to walk around and talk to people, both out there and of course also in Lund.
Nicola, what do you say? What is your take on this?
Yeah, well, as archaeologists, you will guess that our interaction area is quite small, but it's not. Actually, surprisingly, we have been especially developing tools for archaeologists, for example, which involve laser technology or AI. We have been, for example, developing systems which can be a great use for forestry industry, but we also have looking into very much into the open science, and so basically our data can be outreached by other people, and it's not at all a technological issue. It is really the way of how we decide to archive the information, which make the information visible or invisible. And by just changing a little bit our normal behavior, we have been starting getting contact by artists or by, for example, software developers who want to want to harvest, for example, our libraries in 3D for creating new things, which we had no idea before. But we're also working quite a lot with the police at the moment, which we say, well, but actually we are collaborating and supporting as a consultancy, but also for defining together techniques or techniques, mainly documentation methods for recreating environment that actually can be investigated, or in our case, studied further later on. So, but my take on this, two aspects. The first one is that definitely we know much less than what we can. And second one, in terms of collaboration. And second one, I think would be extremely interesting in not just getting these things by chance, because they always contact me and say, oh, look, an artist contacted me, but really putting an extra focus and investigating in why actually is not us going to and not the other way around. And I think there is a lot of room for development in that direction.
I think Ola was first here.
So the Lund University pre-pilot plants are then closely related to Biotech Heights, which was launched a couple of weeks ago as a collaboration with Forstat, Tetra Pak, and Lund University, in which we want to bring in as many companies as possible to create this innovation hub, which is centered around the scaling of biotech and food processes. We do have existing collaborations already with many companies, but in the biotech and food area, we want to bring this into the Biotech Heights and also then offer access in a better way to our infrastructures.
Excellent. Ebba, you wanted to add something?
Yes, I wanted to say something about the ecosystem, because the ecosystem actually, the most important part in the ecosystem, I would say in Lund, is university, because that's where the basic research takes place that actually shows up as all these entrepreneurship and the companies. So in the ecosystem, obviously the university, obviously the industry. If ideas don't come from the university's research, it comes from the industry. It comes from Sony Ericsson people, laying off people perhaps, and these people start companies. So the industry is quite important. There's also an ecosystem that is growing with successful serial entrepreneurs who are investing back into entrepreneurship. So the ecosystem is quite large. We also, there's a lot of actors like us who support and do business coaching, etc., with entrepreneurs. There's a big ecosystem of other innovation actors. There's a science park, there are other incubators, but there's also actors like Almi, there's actors like Connect, etc. So we have a huge ecosystem here with support to entrepreneurship, in my case, because that's what I'm promoting, but really supporting everyone who wants to create innovation and wants to take innovation all the way out to society. And one more thing I would also, which don't see so much yet here, living labs. Super interesting. Maybe it is amongst the 50 you mentioned, I don't know. But living labs are quite important for the e-health entrepreneurs who are developing, for example, fall prevention or fall prediction for elderly. They need living labs. They need actually to study these people in an environment or whatever their tool is. So there's a big need for that kind of test beds as well, with real people or living, or Lund being a test city, of course, or a living lab.
Frida?
Yes, the Moore Lab is one such example that is quite recent. That, for example, has, if I compare it to my infrastructure, we both have motion capture, which is where you can study how people move. So we have had studies looking at specifically what happens when you're prone to a knee injury. How can we see that before it happens? How might we be able to work in rehabilitation based on what we know about movement specific to knee injuries? So we have more of a flexible system, you could say, and the Moore Lab has a flat that you can go in. There's a bathroom, there's a kitchen, so that you can study people in this specific type of environment. But when it comes to the Humanities Lab, and to go back to the question that you asked about who are the players, our main user is a researcher who wants to know something. And many of our users do come from humanities. And I think that one of the hurdles that we sometimes find in communication is that if you talk about natural sciences or medical research, people, the general public, kind of accept that there are things here that we don't know. But if I tell you that I research language, most people tend to say, don't we know everything already? Don't we know how people communicate? And just to tie back to the discussion from this morning, where many of the representatives talked about we need engineers. Yes, of course we need engineers, I'm not going to deny that, but we also need people who can communicate efficiently, who know how language works so that we can actually get the message out. We have a current project in the Humanities Lab looking at audio description. How do you produce functional audio descriptions for communication from authorities so that we can reach the entire population? So we also need those parts, and it's easy to forget that we don't know everything already. So that's why I would say that research is specifically important. But also the artistic projects do come to the lab as well.
That's an interesting point. So let me get, that's one direction I want to sort of drive the discussion now, because obviously you're representatives in one sense of deep specialization, but we're also talking about cross-combination here. Anders, could you imagine doing projects together with Humanities Lab in the future? Would that be a sort of a good mix?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not as okay, it is far. Well, I don't think so. I mean, we've had discussions with people from humanities. As soon as you invent a device of any kind that starts and it comes in a startup, maybe, then it starts to interact with humans, and you can you can make a great as technology as you want. But if it doesn't interact well with actual humans, then you have a problem. So obviously, most of our technologies at some point has to start to interact with humans. And artificial intelligence, we were working on new computation for that. There's of course a big human aspect of that as well, and actually language. I mean, that is what ChatGPT, for example, is. It's a language model. So all our hardware, at some point, if it has to be useful, there has to be a human connection. So yeah, of course we want this this connection. That's our idea, is that our technology should be the benefit of if I paraphrase IKEA, the many people. So yes, we need to think about the humans, and maybe technologists are not always super good at that. I can admit.
I know, Nicola, you were saying when we had a discussion before that you are actually maybe not a software developer, but you almost definitely you are using applications of software, AI, and robotics. I mean, you're actually developing the software industry in a sense, or?
Yes, well, some of the, in the lab we have at the moment developing, of course, people developing specific software. But that is the main difference. So if we make a step back, right? I mean, your question before was, would you interact with? That's already too late, in my opinion. Because in the very same moment you have your product, and you go knock in the door of another person and say, hey, what do you think we should do this with this product? Philosophically, it's already too late, because the product has an agency, and is a result of specific choices and specific things. So instead, if we start this creation together, the product will have different affordances. So if we can make a step back and bring in the creation of the product when it's not too late, or when it's not so contemporary, let's say, that, I think, will generate very different things. There are many examples about that. If you take ChatGPT or AI, well, an algorithm which is trained, which is trained as an AI will respond according with how it's been trained. So if it has been trained by archaeologists, it will, respond to specific questions for archaeology. But if it has been trained by different people, it will bring different answers. So this is, of course, is one of the many examples. But I think it would be really exciting, to make a step back and bring in the creation before actually it's created and then communicated. That may be an interesting trick or trigger for looking at future development, I think.
Let me ask you another thing here. I mean, when I started to research about what we have, what creative nodes we have in Lund, I know you by names, but I don't know where you are. So how well known are you? Or are you well known?
That's an empirical question.
I would say that we are well known, maybe not to the general public, but we are well known in industry and academia.
And yes, we are well known. The proof points is when my colleagues go to international conferences, which are partnering conferences where you try to book people to meet with or industries to meet with, they are being booked. They are not booking. Their calendars are get filled without them taking action. That's when you're known. And one other proof point, we were very recently selected from Amfi, which is the first or the second largest pharma company in the world, depending on how you count, for a golden ticket. Amfi had scouted the Nordics, and they actually picked SMILE in Lund. Lund's University, important part of that. The IP situation in Sweden, important part of that. The innovation district, not district as what's being created here, but what is the innovation that's going on in this area, important part of that. And this is the first golden ticket that any large pharma has given to any incubator in all of Nordics ever. So that means you are getting known.
It's great.
Yeah, I think it's actually a very good question. It's something, I mean, because we have good examples, us as well. I mean, we are doing, actually, for instance, Lund and our environment, for example, is doing incredibly well now with something like the European Innovation Council, which is a new entity to create projects involving many European countries to facilitate research that should lead to actual inventions and companies. And there, Lund and for instance, our analog has been doing exceptionally well, also compared to the other Swedish universities, meaning that we are really known, for instance, in our semiconductor area in Europe, also because we have some excellence to offer. But I think it's important in the sense that when we go to big companies, they want to collaborate with us, with some of my colleagues, for example, in the big semiconductor hubs in Europe. They, of course, are asking, okay, so what are you here in Lund specifically good at? So what is your experience? Why should we work with you? I mean, why should we bother? I mean, here in Lund it's easier, we know each other, but for the rest of the world, okay, why should they bother coming here? And there it's important that we learn to profile us in a clear way that the rest of the world will actually understand. And I think we are doing that quite well in some areas, but there's of course room for improvement as well in that aspect. We actually hope this innovation district will help us define these sort of big umbrella questions where we can say, okay, in this area we are really good. You should come to us and work with us, and then they will. We have proof of that. I mean, EBA has, we have as well. I'm sure others here have as well. So,
which leads me to the question, which I really wanted to get to you. Do you think that, because in the earlier session today, the question was why Lund? Could we imagine people coming to Lund because of you? Would they actually choose Lund because of the creative infrastructure innovation?
They do.
They do already?
They do. We have had people who have come to
great
because
to
of
hear.
the Humanities Lab. So we're very proud of that. And I just want to quickly go back to the thing that we were talking about as to, I can't say how well known we are, but what we're most known for is the equipment, but we also have people. And it's the people, obviously, that mean that people want to come to Lund because we have expertise, for example. So that's where I think, and also in the humans or in the people, is where we can build on this, just like you were talking about, having this infrastructure and also having meeting places.
Great. Ebba?
We have 40 different nationalities working within the incubator. Many of these came to Lund because of the university, which you represent in different ways, but they stay. They come to do their PhD or their postdocs, but they stay because the living conditions here are good. So they stay in Lund. And they also stay because when they develop their ideas and when they do research, they will own their IP. They don't own their IP in the rest of the world. The universities own their IP. If they do their research in Sweden, they own their own IP. So this is where they stay. And this is why they continue. And then there's infrastructures like ours and others who support them in their entrepreneurship. There's soft money, there's support system at universities and at actors like us that support the companies to stay. And that's why they stay. But I think why they come first, they come because of university.
So, yes, the Lund is very special in this respect because it's very large, has a lot of faculties, and not just that. There is a lot of initiatives in Lund which are designed to put together all these different research. For example, Puffendorf, Samverkan. So we have many, many really, really powerful initiatives, I think, that give us the possibility of communicate. But so in a way, the way of how we, the way are you known? Well, it depends on who you are. We have many identities. For example, in research, the lab, the dark lab, is well known. It's a large community, of course, but it's well known. The question is, what is our identity behind, outside our comfort zone? Because this is all about, right? I mean, when we go talking with, our peers or in similar environment, it's kind of easy. There is no need of introduction. They work as we work, so we know. But there are a lot of boundaries or barriers, actually, that we need to look into in order to make our lab real open. Because it's not just a question of knock my door, oh, call me, oh, you're free to call me. Yeah, well, it's not so direct and so easy. So we need to create events or, I think, appointments in which outside also Lund University, like Samverkan, Puffendorf, which actually bring even more close the possibility of having an open space for communicating. It's really make it a lot, I think, at least for us. And Dark Lab is called like that because actually our offices are under one floor. So it's a very dark environment now. That's why we originally...
Ola, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, well, in our case, our line of communication with the outside will be Biotech Heights. So Biotech Heights will be our way in and out of the university. In terms of being well known, well, we do collaboration with industry and researchers from all around the world already. What we now are trying to do is consolidating ourselves and be better at offering good services both to other researchers, to our own researchers, and to industry.
I would say.
Let me put another question to you. If we look a couple of years down the road, what role will your creative infrastructure have for education, research, and innovation? Can you see anything in this foggy, misty future that you will actually change university or the innovation ecosystem?
Well, I think for us, I mean, it's not so foggy in the sense that, I mean, we're building a new lab at Science Village, so at least we have a direction. Even if it's foggy, we know where to go. And there, of course, the whole idea is this, that we also see this, that, I mean, when we present things, for instance, to industry or larger industries or large international partners, they, for instance, don't want to see a single. They want to see excellent individual infrastructures, so obviously we have to be that. But they also want to see a group of infrastructures that are close to each other and that are capable of collaborating with each other, which is not a trivial thing. There are many places in the world where infrastructures are fighting each other. This is not an uncommon thing actually to happen. We don't do that here in Lund. We have trained to actually work together and talk to each other. And that is what we see also that industry wants. It is this, that they can pick a whole line of things and put that together. And that is very much where we want to create a hub there, where people want to come. Not everybody will be at Science Village. A lot of people will be scattered in Lund, but hopefully there will be a number of strong hubs, some near the medical, so the hospital, wherever that's going to be, and some at Science Village, and some in other places, but where people want to go and they want to go in between. And creating those hubs, that is what we are very focused on right now. We want to create such a hub where we can offer something, so that when a company comes from outside, now we managed to do it with some of the big Swedish companies, which are international, so they go wherever they like, but they actually come to Lund. But that's by presenting something that is interdisciplinary and also goes across from basic research all the way to people doing very applied research. And we can do that here, but then we need to pull ourselves together. So yeah, so we are going out there and then assemble, and then we hope to go back and meet the others in their big hubs in the future.
How about you?
My hope for the future is that some of the world-leading researchers that will be attracted to ESS when that is built, Max 4 already, that some of these researchers will actually start companies and stay. And that means we will get world-leading researchers to stay in Lund, and I'm hoping that SMILE will play a role in that when it comes to life science researchers and also actually food tech researchers, because they will be here. We just have to make sure that they will stay and not only do the research and fly home again. So I'm hoping that we can make a change there.
Nicola, I know that when we talked over the phone, you were saying that already now you can see some changes happening. You're talking about mixed position, sort of impacting the curricula, etc. What are your ideas?
So if we look at the educational part, but not just that, also research, education. It's just a question. If I say a vision, is mainly an ambition, right? So after pandemic, I think it's been a tragic moment, but it's been also extremely informative, and it really need to make the best out of it. And my take on that was that suddenly, and day after the other, all courses of research was off. So everything actually was depending on what we were sharing and the way where we were ready to change our attitudes toward communication, changing in knowledge production. So then, of course, fortunately things get to normality, but that was a peak moment. Now, my point is that we definitely need to reinforce our infrastructure, our archives, our digital infrastructure, our information online. We need to study how knowledge is generated, how innovation is generated using this material, these archives that we have out there. So I think something extremely nice will be, as we discussed on the phone, to have challenges in which, for example, I just guess now the EU-kommissionen has a problem to solve, and a call is open in which not just, is an infrastructural project, not just engineering joining, but also artists, also archaeologists, also many different perspectives. And it's not like we have an idea and we need someone to help us in that. It's doing it together. is where actually the object which I was referring before is created. That would be super interesting to see how actually innovative and creative solutions are generated by blending minds or really working together. But that is, of course, it's just a vision.
Frida, what's your take on, I know that you have been sort of promoting, we need to have the human aspect of, how do you see the future? I mean, your role in collaboration with all the technical things happening out there. And
well, I'm thinking of many different things, because, let's just see if I can rephrase my thought there. Yeah, so what we currently do, if I had to narrow it down, is that we have this equipment and then we have the expertise. And I think that's still going to be what we do 5 years from now, but different. The how might be different. It will still be equipment and expertise. And so one of the things that has changed quite recently is that we added on a second language technologist, which with the event of ChatGPT, I don't think surprises anyone that we needed more people because researchers are asking new questions and you want to know how you can summarize texts, for example, very quickly. So, I mean, that's something that I think is we're going to have more of those questions being asked and more researchers coming to us for that. But I also think of the fact that we can combine the things that we do, and maybe that's a bit trickier for the infrastructures that have very kind of, this is the room where you do this. But we also have some of the portable types of equipment. So we now have eye trackers that you can wear out in public, and maybe what happens when you bring them close to your fields. How do we look at things? How do we understand the products that are being presented, for example? So I do think that I would like to see maybe more of those crossovers but we can't know now. That's the fun part. We just need to keep it open and possible since we don't own the research.
So I would like to one last question here before we open up for some questions. If we look at your role in the ever-changing, ever-evolving society, building new knowledge in society, reskilling, retraining, where we're not only talking about educating people and then they go off and they never come back, or more of a loop coming back to Lund. What is your role in that? How do you see that?
Well, I see most collaborations being not with people coming back and taking courses, but coming back and do research and development together with us as a part of a company or their own startup. Or there are ways in which we could offer some specialities from the infrastructure point in further advancing knowledge for everyone, but I think most collaborations or most build-up of knowledge will be in collaboration with industry and research institutes and other researchers. And I mean, the most important outcome of what we do at university is the engineers and the PhDs. It's usually not the processes. In some cases, it is the processes when we hit the lucky strike, but in most cases, it's the actual people that we educate that is the main outcome.
Anders?
This is something that we're actually thinking a lot about and working with, because we want our lab also to be used. We think we have a lot to offer to many industries, and we're having I would say a combination of both. We have very excellent labs staff which have also participate now in teaching also graduates and undergraduates, but who can also go out to companies and give overviews. But then, of course, in the end, what then happens usually is that then some of the people at the companies come back to us and will try out things in the lab. And that's, of course, where it's important that we have equipment available, so they don't have to go out and spend this 10 million or 20 million to try something out. And that can then lead to upskilling. I would say it's an area actually this upskilling the present workforce where we can definitely actually do more there's room for more there. That is my feeling actually, and we are I would say thinking about that also. We have now new Vinnova competence centers that Lund went from 0 to 5 of these, so this was not even a percentage improvement. It's much better than that, and there's a part in that which actually is about this with skill development for the present industry. So it is something that we are considering. It's also with EUC Syd and others. But that point is actually work in progress, and I think it's a good point to think more about.
Great. All right, so let's have 1 or 2 questions. Anybody interested in putting a question here? Let's see. Oh, somebody up here.
Thank you for very interesting introduction. I'd like to ask what are the conditions, economic conditions, to use your labs. I'm representing inventors who are maybe not so capital wealthy in the beginning.
And that, sorry, it was for me? Yes, okay. Depends on if you are an incubator company or if you are not, but very, very, very beneficial. I think there's actually a price list available for instruments on our website even. And dependent on what kind of analysis you need to make, some of them you use the instrument in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, half a day, whatever, and you can rent them for that specific time. It is extremely cheap. Most of the companies that are using the equipment that are, maybe they pay a total of 3,000 or 4,000 kronor a month if they use it. Some heavy users more if it's cell labs, which are quite expensive. But it's in general very, very, very favorable. So I don't think that is what's stopping you to use them, actually. I don't think the pricing is a problem.
Yeah. In the Humanities Lab, using the Humanities Lab is free for our users from the university. So if there's a researcher who's willing to collaborate with you on whatever the venture is, then that would be your way into the Humanities Lab. We do have fees for particular types of equipment where you need to use gel and glue and things. But apart from that, there's no entrance fee, so to speak, for our university users.
Yeah, I just want to present. So we have a model which is quite similar to what Ebba presented. So if you are a company, if you're a big company, then you have to pay full price. We cannot, but it is what it costs us. And then for smaller companies, there is a lower fee, and you can also work, for instance, with institutes and us in various ways to get started. But also, I would say that you pay per hour. Basically for the equipment, and the fees are reasonable. It seems that that's not what is stopping our for instance, startup companies, even if they're not so capital strong. It's not our user fees. They end up being a small part of the cost compared to, for instance, hiring people and things like that.
I just wanted to add, we are non-for-profit, so we do not make a profit, so that's not our goal. But we need to finance the equipment and people that can handle the equipment.
Great. One last question, and then we need to break for a coffee break. Yeah.
Hey, my name is Charles. I'm from the Netherlands. I came here for a second master's and stayed behind. I did it in entrepreneurship and innovation, so I'm working on some very early stage startups as well. And managing Venture Lab at SLU in Alnarp, so also helping students, supporting this. And what we've been talking about today is really interesting because there's a lot of things happening, and I've been here 4 years, that I don't know about. So who is taking the initiative to map out all these really nice things that are happening, and when are these test beds coming? That's the first question. And then the second question, no, I'll let you answer the first one first.
I think that I think that's a question of finding the balance between actually communicating things and not communicating too much, because if we're all going to, shout from the rooftops, no one's going to hear us. So I think that's definitely a challenge that we're in, and I hope that with this as this innovation district becomes clearer and clearer, I actually think that's going to be one of the benefits from that we know that things are happening, and we maybe also know that there are things that we don't know, but they are there, and that will then help with that.
Ola, you want to?
So we've been around for 60 years. The difference now is that we're basically consolidating and creating one way in that we will have, so it will be easier access than it's been before, because access previously has been in communication with the individual researcher. So personal knowledge have been the way in previously, while now we will create this open way in where you can come in, ask a question. We then find the right competence that can work with you, be it on food, biotech, chemical engineering, or a combination in that area. So that's the difference, but we've been around.
I think that the simple answer to your question starts here. There's a small brochure you can pick up to read more about. Sorry we have to break for the coffee break, but I think your question is valid, and this is exactly why we're having discussion, to collect all the opportunities we have in Lund and being able to package it and actually broadcast it in a better way than we do today. I would just like to, before we end, also remember that there is a questionnaire on the Innovation District. If you have seen the QR codes around here, you can actually answer the questions. We have some 350 answers, and we would like to have more, because it gives you an idea of how people see and perceive of the Innovation District. And also don't forget that after the coffee break there is a big session in the big room that you can attend. It starts at 14:15. And by saying that, I would like really to thank you guys. I think this will, hopefully this is the start of a longer discussion, and that we will have more sessions like this, and we actually work more together on the theme of innovative infrastructure in the Lund Innovation District. So I thank Frida Splendido, Nicolo de Unto, Ola Wallberg, Ebba Foreus, and Anders Mikkelsen. A big hand. Tack. Thank you. Yes.